a song for desperate times. Thank you. You may be seated. David was king at this time, and his own son, Absalom, rebelled against him. His own son took the throne from him and is trying to kill him. And David is forced to flee the capital city and go into the wilderness. And his son Absalom, helped by David's enemies, helped by some of David's former friends, is gathering a large army to defeat David once and for all. This is a psalm. This is a song of real desperation. Being betrayed by your own flesh and blood, being betrayed by so-called friends, on the verge of losing everything. This is life and death. The stakes are high. And if you're going through some serious things, you're going through some things where the stakes are high, this is a song for you. This is a song for desperate times. Again, verse 1 says, "O Lord, how my adversaries have increased. Many are rising up against me." David has enemies, and they are increasing by the hour. People are seeing that David is in trouble, and they're joining his son Absalom's side. They are rising up to pull him down. We can somewhat identify with David's desperation. In life, people will get mad at you and come for you. And then there are some people who are not just satisfied at being against you, they'll seek to turn others against you. And then there are some people, when they see you struggling, they figure it's a good time to show you how they really feel. And then there's some people who appear to be on your side when they needed some help. But when they got back on their feet, you found out they never really liked you in the first place. You might find yourself in a spot where your enemies and your adversaries have increased. And it doesn't just have to be people. Whatever things come against you can increase. Your troubles can increase. Your difficulties can increase. What started out as this has now turned into this and that. What started out as one thing has turned into another thing and another thing and another thing. What was once just a problem is now a whole situation. Not only are the storms raging in your life, but your boat is on fire too. This is a song for desperate times. And just like David, you'll find yourself saying, "Oh Lord, there are a lot of people against me. Oh, Lord, when did I get so unpopular? Oh, Lord, there's trouble on every side. Oh, Lord, my problems are multiplying." This is a song for desperate times. When the troubles are real and the problems are serious and the things in your life can actually take you out or take your family out, when you can lose everything. Then on top of that, verse 2 says, "Many are saying of my soul, there is no deliverance for him in God." Many people are saying that. His relatives are saying there's no deliverance for him in God. Some of his former friends are saying there is no deliverance for him in God. People in the community, the bystanders, are saying, for David, there is no deliverance. King James Version says it this way: there is no help for him. There's no help for him in God. Some people are saying there's no help for David in God because they think that God can't help. You've been in some tight spots before David, but you've never been in this much trouble. You've been on the run before David, but you haven't been on the run from your own son before. They say maybe God can't help David because the rebellion has gotten too big and the rebellion has gained too much momentum and the odds are overwhelming. The mountain is too high. The valley is too deep. The ocean is too wide. There is no help for him in God. There's no deliverance from David out of this one. People will say of you, God can't get you out of this one. God can't get her out of this one. Now, in this time, there ain't going to be no just in the nick of time. Not on this one. I said this is a song for desperate times. Secondly, some people say there's no help because they're thinking God won't help. David, you're getting what you deserve. God is punishing you, David. These are your just rewards. We know, David, about the baggage in your life, David. We know about the skeletons in your closet. We know about your moral failings, David. We know about that stuff with Bathsheba and her husband, David. It's the gossip all over town. God will not help you, David, because you don't deserve help. Absalom would say, you weren't a good dad. You don't deserve help. One of David's close friends who turned on him, Ahithophel, would say, even though you married Bathsheba, you destroyed her reputation. That was my granddaughter. Top officers in the army would say, you had one of your own trusted soldiers killed. God won't help you, David. Even people who didn't know David probably would say, yeah, he must have done something wrong for all these people to turn on him. David, you don't deserve God's help. There is no help for him in God. And some people think the same of you. God's not going to help him. I know all about him. I know his shortcomings. I know his feelings. God ain't going to help her. And they list all the things that where you've fallen short. I said this is a song for desperate times. Then we see the word Selah, and there's no agreement on definitely what it means, but we understand it's some type of break, some type of pause. But whatever it is, this is a good place to reflect. The trouble is real. The times are desperate. People think I'm done for. They think God won't help me, or they think God can't help me. I need a song for desperate times. Verse 3, but you, O Lord, are a shield about me, my glory, and the one who lifts my head. Despite what my enemies are saying, despite what my former friends are saying, despite what my foes are saying, despite what some people in my own family are saying, despite what the bystanders are saying, I understand that just because I'm in a tough situation, just because I have faults does not mean that I'm not in good with God. I still belong to God. My condition is not an indication of my position with God. If anybody asks you who I am, you tell them I am a child of God, faults and all. They can say God can't help, but nothing is impossible with God. They can say you don't deserve God's help. But what they don't know is that I never deserved God's help. It's always been grace. It's always been mercy. It's always been favor that I did not deserve. I never deserved God's help in the first place. I can't earn God's help. Thank God for grace. So they can say whatever they want. Because the reality is that in this desperate time, you are God. You, O Lord, are a shield about me. It might not look like it, but God is my protection. God is my shelter in a storm. God is my strong tower. His angels are watching over me. Like the song says, all day, all night, his angels are watching over me. I'm still in God's hand of protection. This is a song for somebody in a desperate situation. God is still your shield. Then David says, you are my glory. Your glory is what shows that you're all of that. Well, what makes you all that you are? Many people find glory in fame or power or prestige or possessions or wealth or beauty or achievements. If we see a famous person walk by and they have their fashionable clothes and their expensive jewelry and they're walking with a large entourage and they're chased by photographers taking pictures and they get in a vehicle that costs more than what our house costs, we say, I saw them in all their glory. We saw them with all the stuff that makes them somebody in the eyes of the world. Well, the Hebrew word used for glory means heaviness or something that is substantial. Something that is substantial. David is saying that the Lord is the one that makes him substantial. David is saying the Lord is the one that makes me important. The Lord is the one that makes me somebody. The Lord is the one that makes me to do, causes me to do awesome things. David would say, I don't find glory in power or fame or wealth or prestige. I don't find glory in the crown I used to wear. I don't find glory in the royal robes I used to wear. I don't find glory in the palace I used to live in. Those things can be taken away. Hence my current situation. But I find glory in the Lord. And though I've lost all of those things, I'm still substantial. I'm still important. I'm still somebody. I'm still royal. I'm still a king because the Lord is my glory. This song for desperate times teaches me that if I've lost my marriage, if I lost my family, the job, if I lost possessions, if I lost my status, I can still face each day like I am somebody because the Lord is my glory. I would love to have all of those things, but as long as I have the Lord, I still am somebody. Because when the Lord is my glory, my worth does not come from temporary things. My worth, my glory comes from the fact that God knows my name. My worth, my glory comes from the fact that God calls me his child. He walks with me and he talks with me and he calls me his own. That's my glory. That's what makes me somebody. And he is also the one who lifts my head. This doesn't mean that I'm depressed and God will tilt my head up and tell me it's all right. It means that God will lift me out of this bad situation. It means that God's going to elevate me from my current state. It means he's going to lift me out of this pit. Psalms 23 says it the same way. He will prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. I don't have to do it. God's going to do it. In this desperate time, God will lift up my head. God will make a way. God will fix things for me. This is a song for desperate times. Verse 4, he says, I was crying to the Lord with my voice, and he answered me from his holy mountain, Selah. The children of Israel considered Jerusalem to be God's holy mountain. Because in Jerusalem was the Ark of the Covenant. And the Ark of the Covenant symbolized God's presence among them. But David has left the city. Now the priests who were loyal to David said, we'll come with you, David. We'll bring the Ark with us. But David instructed them, leave the Ark of the Covenant in Jerusalem. And David is saying, though I am far from Jerusalem, living in this wilderness, though I'm far from the holy mountain, the Lord hears me and answers me. Though I'm a long way from the ark, though I'm in this barren wilderness, the Lord hears me and answers me. David would say, I know God hears me because in the wilderness, I prayed that my son, the son who's trying to kill him, would follow some bad advice. And God calls Absalom to follow some bad advice. David would say, I thank God for if he had followed the good advice he was given, we would all be dead right now. So though I cannot see Jerusalem, the Lord sees me. Though I cannot reach the ark, the Lord can reach me. In other words, even in desperate times, even in the wilderness of your life, God still hears and answers prayer. I said even in the most desperate times, God still hears and answers prayer. Take everything to God in prayer. Let me encourage you. Take everything to God in prayer. You're going through, but take everything to God in prayer. Many times we like to shut down spiritually when things get rough. We're too sad to pray. We're too mad to pray. We're too discouraged to pray. But in desperate times, David is letting us know that God still hears and answers prayer. Though everything is trying to work against you, know that God is still working for you. Selah, somebody ought to pause on that. In desperate times, guess what? God is your shield. In desperate times, God is your glory. In desperate times, he lifts your head. In desperate times, he hears your prayers. Then David said, I lay down and slept. I awoke, for the Lord sustains me. With all of the troubles going on, guess what? David says, I laid down and slept, and I awoke. With all of the difficulties that I'm facing, running for my life, I laid down and slept, and I awoke. I've got trials, I've got problems, I've got obstacles, and yet I'm still able to lay down, sleep, and awake because it's the Lord who's sustaining me. It's the Lord who's watching over me. It's the Lord who's keeping me. Despite the fact that I lost my throne, despite the fact that my son is trying to kill me, despite the fact that my enemies are growing every day and I'm on the run, I am still here and getting some good sleep. David is testifying like some of us need to testify. After all I've been through, guess what? I'm still here. I'm still here. I've been through a lot, but I laid down, went to sleep, and God woke me up the next morning. Despite all the troubles, despite all the close calls, I'm still here. Some of you have been through some accidents, but guess what? You're still here. Some of you have been in the hospital, but guess what? You're still here. Some people betrayed you and left you for lost, but you're still here. David is testified in this desperate time like we need to testify. In this desperate time, the Lord has kept me. Yeah, I've been through a lot of pressure, David would say, but I'm not crushed. I'm going through, but I'm still going. I've been knocked down, but not knocked out. Yeah, God hasn't done the big deliverance yet. He hasn't done the big miracle yet, but he is keeping me day by day. He's giving me every day my daily bread. Whatever I need every day, he's still providing. Yeah, I'm waiting on the miracle, but it took a miracle just to get me this far. The Lord is sustaining me, keeping me, blessing me. I am still here. Somebody ought to say, I'm still here. I'm still here. Yeah, the reminds me of that song, the Lord is blessing me. Right now, oh, right now. I said the Lord is blessing me. Right now, oh, right now. He woke me up this morning, and he started me on my way. The Lord is blessing me right now. So David says in verse 6, I will not be afraid of 10,000s of people who have set themselves against me round about. David says, I'm not going to be afraid. It doesn't matter how many are against me, tens of thousands, I will not be afraid. Though they surround me, I will not be afraid. If you are in a desperate time, this song is teaching you that you don't have to be afraid. You don't have to be afraid. It feels like you should be afraid, but if the Lord is on your side, you don't have to be afraid. It's a natural tendency to be afraid, but if the Lord is on your side, you don't have to be afraid. Have you ever been afraid of something? You go through the whole week worrying. God comes through and you say, I was worried for nothing. Even in this desperate situation, you don't have to be afraid. Just trust in the Lord and have faith. David says in verse 7, arise, O Lord, save me, O my God. You have smitten all my enemies on the cheek. You have shattered the teeth of the wicked. Here David is asking in this desperate time, he's asking the Lord to go before him and fight for him. Arise, O Lord. This is what Moses would say every time they were prepared to leave the camp when they were in the wilderness. Moses would say, arise, O Lord, and let your enemies be scattered. David said, arise, O Lord. I recognize that really this is your fight. Lord, I'm depending on you to save me. It's really not some great plan or a scheme I can come up with. God, I'm depending on you. Lord, I need you to fight for me. And I like the word all. You have smitten all my enemies. All means all. That's why in verse 6, we said tens of thousands of people, it didn't matter because all means all. So if you've got three main problems right now, guess what? All means all three problems God's going to take care of. If you got 5 people against you right now, guess what? God's going to take care of all 5. If you got 10 issues in your life, God will take care of all 10 issues because all means all. No matter how many things are in your way, all covers all because we serve an all-powerful God. We serve an all-wise God. We serve an all-knowing God. We serve an all and ever-present God. And when David talks about the smitten on the cheek, David is asking that his enemies not only be defeated, but dominated. Smitten upon the cheekbone, broken the teeth. Your enemies, your trouble. David said, I don't want my enemies, I don't want the trouble to have any more bite. The mouth that was talking will have nothing to say. David is asking for more than just protection, believing that God will, let me say it this way. Many times when we're going through, we just ask God, just let me make it. Lord, help me just to get by. David said, I'm going to ask for more than just getting by. I'm going to ask that these problems be dominated. He's asking for total victory. If you're in a desperate time, you can have faith for total victory. You can ask for total victory. Don't ask for what you would just settle for. Not just ask for what you can get by with. God, I'm asking for complete victory. God, I'm asking for complete deliverance. God, I'm asking for a decisive victory. Lord, your word says I'm more than a conqueror. Complete victory. May I never see this issue again. You're going through some things. You can ask God, may I never see this problem again. That's what God told Moses after they crossed the Red Sea. You ain't going to see these Egyptians no more. Complete victory. Total domination of your problems. You can ask God for complete victory. Not just let me get by this month. Lord, let them leave me alone for a while. God, just give me a season. Ain't nothing wrong with a season. But you know what? You can ask for more. David says, that God is so much on my side, I'm going to ask him for total victory. Arise, O God, and let your enemies be scattered. Yeah, let them be scattered in 7 ways so they can never join back together. Verse 8 says, salvation belongs to the Lord. Thy blessing is upon thy people. Salvation belongs to God. Salvation, victory, triumph, those things are the property of God. God decides who gets salvation. God decides who gets victory. God decides who gets triumph. It doesn't matter how many enemies. It doesn't matter how many people are talking. It doesn't matter the odds. It doesn't matter what has happened in the past. Salvation belongs to God. Then you see the colon, it says, thy blessing is upon thy people. This verse is saying salvation belongs to God, and he gives that blessing to the people who belong to him. I said salvation, victory belongs to God. And he's going to give that victory to the people that belong to him. He's going to give the triumph to the people who belong to him. David is saying, my situation looks desperate, but since I belong to God, the victory belongs to me. Yeah, victory is mine. So whatever you are facing, you don't have to focus on the problems. Focus on being God's people, because God's people get the victory. You don't have to worry about and put all your energy into the problem or to the trial. Focus on being God's servant, because victory is given to God's servants. Let me say it this way. Don't worry about the problem. If you're going to worry about something, worry about living right. I'm going to put my own sealer right there. Many of us are worried about the problems, but we ain't worried about living right. You know what? I got some bills, but I need to worry about getting to church to get a word. Yeah, I got some situations in my life, but I need to worry about treating my coworkers right. Yeah, I got a whole bunch of desperate things that are going on right now, but I'm going to worry about forgiving those who've done me wrong. Don't worry about the problem. Worry about living right. Now, be aware of the problem, but concentrate on pleasing the Lord. Don't ignore the bad situation, but concentrate on living a godly life. I've said to World Missionary, what's your number one worry? Your number one worry is what you're thinking about the most. Then I follow up with this question. When the last time we've been worried about serving God better? That's been your number one thing. You say, now we know I just can't sleep tonight because I'm so worried about my baby girl. I can't sleep because I'm so worried about these bills. When the last time you said, I can't sleep because I just want to make sure I take the right steps to please God and to serve him? No, we would. When's the last time we worried about pleasing God? When you call somebody and say, I need your help. I'm not sure I'm on the right track. Pray for me because I want to serve God for real. Now, we'll add, I pray for me because I'm going through, child. God did not put us on this earth because he needed some warriors. God put us on this earth because we have a job to do for him. Don't let desperate times distract you from your service to him. I used to teach elementary school, and I had to teach, we played different, in PE, played different sports, so we tried flag football. And I made a mistake. I made a mistake in teaching the kids how to play flag football, because we were talking about second graders, third graders, first graders, real young. And I wanted to teach them the concept of how to watch your man. Don't let them get open so they can catch a pass. You got to watch them. So I told them, no matter what, you guard your man. No matter what, you guard your man. And they took that to heart, and they would guard their man like a hawk. But they took it too far. I didn't emphasize. If the ball was fumbled and it rolled by their feet, they wouldn't get the ball. They'd be looking at their man. When they were on offense, and they should have been trying to get open, they would follow the defender around. Because Mr. Cava told us what? Guard your man, watch your man. They were focused on the problem I presented to them. The problem was you can't let this person get away from you. They were focused on the problem. I should have told them, yeah, you gotta be aware of your man, but the ball is the most important thing. Keep your eye on your man, but focus on the ball. I say to you, keep an eye on your problems, but focus on God. Don't just stare your problems down, following your problems everywhere you go. Then you wonder why you're depressed. Because your eyes on your man. I can't let my problem get away. Wherever my problem goes, he goes. Wherever my problem goes, I got to think about it. I got to worry about it. Focus on God. When you focus on God, then you're going to start thinking things like, he will deliver me. He's my shield. He's my protection. He's my glory. He's going to lift my head. That's what happens when you focus on God. So focus on God, because salvation belongs to the Lord, and he blesses his people with that salvation. Was not Jesus in a desperate time? Surrounded by many enemies. But he kept his focus on God. And yeah, he didn't want to do it. He was in the garden, he was afraid, but he prayed. And that fear left. Not my will, but thy will be done. And though they were hitting him and spitting on him and slapping him, all that church, he was still worried about other people, telling other people, don't weep for me. He said, I'm not afraid. Weep for yourselves. When he was on the cross, and you think he'd been concentrating on his own pain, he told John, take care of my mother. See, he was focused on doing God's will. And did not God deliver him? Was not sin and death defeated? Was not sin and death defeated? Because he rose on the third day with all power. If you're going through a desperate time, there is hope. Call on the Lord and he'll hear you. Salvation belongs to him. And he wants to give it to you. If you're not saved, salvation belongs to him, and he wants to give it to you. If you have not accepted Jesus as your Lord and Savior, he wants to give you salvation. All you have to do is agree to become one of his people. So I believe what you did on the cross. You did die for me. You did shed your blood for my sins. You did rise again. Make me your people. He'll make you his people, and he'll give you salvation. Let's pray. God, we thank you for this song that helps us in desperate times. Help us to understand. Help us to remember.